So eventually what happens is that the government is the most successful group of gangsters.
Hey, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. It's great to finally meet you.
It's great to meet you too, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've been talking
it's
to
good
Nadia
that you
for
guys
some
are-
time on and off, so you guys have kind of met, but
We're basically like best friends now.
exactly,
Super
exactly.
I just send you random music. Dude, check it out.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the stuff you've been sending me. Yeah, I went on, and there was one time I got a text, and my wife was like, "Oh, who's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's Nadia Moen. She's out in Wisconsin." And she's like, "Oh, what's that about?" And I said, "She's sending me music." She's like, "Okay."
Probably not the strangest thing in your.
Honestly, no. My wife is adjusting to just what libertarians are like.
Yeah, she must be a really good sport.
She is very, very sport. She loves everyone she's met, but
Sure.
yeah, she's very not like us, and is a good sport about the whole thing.
I try to be a good sport the best I can. Yeah. But yeah, and you do too, honestly. It's crazy. I love the meme culture. That's just, because it's all in good fun mostly.
Oh yeah.
But it's good. It's good. That's one of the cool things that I think Vermin did for a lot of people was added humor into the equation and made it a lot more made libertarianism seem more of a lighthearted thing for a lot of people. And I think you do that, but on a more professional level, in a sense, a more appealing mainstream level. Once you get past his appeal, he's such an intelligent man.
Mm-hmm.
The character
absolutely.
He puts on,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is, Vermin, Vermin wants to use that humor to be able to share a very serious message.
Yes.
Right. And I do too. I don't take the humor quite as far as he does, obviously,
right.
But yeah, no, he's a very funny guy, and he's done a really good job spreading the message. But yeah, no, I tell myself, the cyberbullying of the memes it's very gentle and good natured.
Yeah.
But it is cyberbullying.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Chrissy's the worst.
Yeah. I just love how you handle yourself through every single one of them too.
It's great.
It's pretty entertaining from this.
The
end.
submarine
Nice
one
job.
lately was the best. Stop sending me this.
That was funny. That was funny. And a few people sent it, and I'm like, all right, well, let's just say stop sending it.
Yeah.
And so it turns out when you say stop sending me something, that's an invitation for thousands of people to just keep sending you that photo over and over.
Oh yeah. I mean, during your guys' campaign, the Libertarian online army, whatever you want to call it, was pretty relentless that way. It was like the moment somebody was like, "Oh, we're going to be doing this one thing that's totally anti-libertarian," you'd have one little person say, "Hey guys, this person's being very anti-libertarian. We should let them know." And then all of a sudden, hundreds of comments and thousands later, and then you're talking to a toaster.
I was going to say, Chris Taylor Brown is a perfect example of this.
Yes.
This poor man is, for those who
God.
don't know, Chris Taylor Brown was the lead singer of Trapped. And they're the ones that did the song Headstrong 13, 14 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And this was a day that I took a nap. It was a rare day that I was at home, just taking a nap, as one would. And I woke up from the nap being told, "Yeah, Spike, you're going to crush it against Trapped, and you're going to destroy Trapped. Oh, man, Trapped doesn't know what's coming to him." And I'm like, who the hell is Trapped?
Yeah.
And so I immediately went to Google and just type in Trapped, because I thought maybe it's Trump, but everyone was spelling it this way. So I'm like, well, it's not a misspelling. So I put in Trapped, and two things came up. The first, or many things, but the first two things that came up was a YouTube video of Headstrong and him saying he was going to crush me in a debate on Twitter. So, I see Headstrong. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that song.
Yeah.
And then I scroll down, "I'm going to destroy Spike Cohen in our debate." And I'm like, what the hell happened? Yeah. And so it turns out, like you said, this poor man gave his opinion on the internet that he wasn't a fan of libertarianism. and the Joe Spike troll army went after him and beat him into the ground. Yep. And just made some of the most brutal memes. I was like, guys, please chill. Like, let's be like, goodness.
Yeah, they were relentless.
He's already dead. Like, you've heard, don't kill him. And so I felt like, like it was the literal, beating a dead horse where it's just flush with the ground and you're still, whopping away at the thing.
Just for the hell of it.
And so it ended with, so I reached out to the guy and I'm like, hey, listen, I don't want to get into a contentious discussion with you, but we can certainly get, we can have a talk about some issues. And he's like, yeah, I didn't know he was going to get drunk and point the phone in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and
that was interesting.
It was.
That was really interesting. I watched the whole thing.
We can thank the Joe Spike meme troll army for that and many other hits. But yeah, no, I joked and said, rage against the, I was told to rage against the machine, but they didn't say which machine. So I just argued with a microwave for 2 hours.
Yep. Wasn't sure where to point that at. So
what? Yeah. I didn't know I had this action, but didn't know where to direct it. So I found a toaster.
Yep. And that was the next best thing. Actually, I was going to bring up too, there was that one ad you guys had come out with where you actually used, I don't know who was in charge of putting that ad together, but you guys actually used him in the ad. There was a part where he was saying Joe joke. He was calling Joe Jorgensen Joe joke over and over again in this like live stream he did. And somebody for one of your guys' ads actually clipped right where he said Joe and like put it in one of the ads like he was praising her. And I thought that was the most beautiful. That was the most beautiful thing.
That had to have been Dan Smolt who made all or most of our campaign stuff. He would be the person to put that kind of an Easter egg in an ad. That had to have been him. I didn't even know about that. That's funny.
Yeah, that was great. I caught it at least. we laughed about it relentless. Like we were laughing about it forever. But
that's funny.
Yeah. So I guess overall, we wanted to just have you on. We recently started up this podcast. We have been, local activists here in Wisconsin, just kind of boots on the ground, trying to get things done. And it was kind of the next step for us to start a podcast to kind of discuss things. We were already sitting here most nights just talking liberty and discussing world, issues and stuff like that. So it seemed, whatever. And we were already kind of delving into videography and all these things as it is. But so, we just started this up. We've been trying to use it as kind of a vehicle to also help project like the LPWI. And, we started up the LPDC here in our county and, stuff like that, just adding a voice. And we thought it'd also be cool to try and give, a platform, not only to locals who don't normally have a platform, but also to bring people like you locally so that more people can help hear this message too.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
we'll
thank you. We mainly just try to keep it really relaxed and open, come in with a couple of points of interest that we can talk about and then just kind of have conversation from there. It's not really too strict, I guess, overall in the format, or whatever. But we really appreciate your all of the work that you've been doing. Obviously, we've been following you since literally the nomination process. We started as libertarians, I guess you want to call it, in Gary Johnson's era, the last election, 2016. But it was mainly like I had known of Ron Paul, like that kind of woke me up to the idea of libertarianism as an idea, but I was never really involved politically. And she always felt libertarianism, but never really,
I never voted. I never cared about politics.
Right. And when we got together, though, we were, very passionate about world events and just that's something we shared. So when the election came around in 2016, we started really looking into the candidates and talking about, our selection and what we could do. And, Donald Trump came in and was like a wrecking ball immediately. And it felt very, unnerving in a sense. And we immediately were like, I was like, I know about libertarianism. Let's look there. There has to be something there. And Gary was running at the time. Right. And we really liked Gary. There wasn't a lot of bad things you could say about his personal character. He was just he seemed like a nice guy and good honest man. Good honest man. Like he was aloof and quirky in his own ways, but whatever, everybody has their own things, and like,
So it makes you a libertarian.
Yeah, exactly. And we went out, we printed up a bunch of little flyers and we distributed them on our county. And we tried waking up people to the idea. And We started up Door County for Liberty, a page on Facebook, and it was a very small thing with like 20 people following us. Then we kind of dropped off after the election. You know, Donald Trump won, and it seemed like there wasn't a lot of people, especially in our area, that were really craving liberty.
That was like awakening the drive to do something.
Personally do something.
Right.
Yeah,
do something. Yeah.
Not just talk about it on the internet even, actually be a part of it.
Right.
Wait, are you saying talking about the internet isn't doing something?
It is. It is.
I'm
I actually do think it is. I mean, that's actually a large part of what I still do to this day. But, you also have to have that localized effort too.
Of course.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you understand. And then this election cycle came around, and, as soon as it started picking back up, we were like, the call's still there. We still need to do something about this. And then we heard that Joe had been elected, and neither of us had ever really heard of her, and I think a lot of people who weren't in the party deep probably had that same reaction, like, who's this? This is a new name to me. And you, you as well too. Like, I heard Spike Cohen, and I was like, wow, I've never heard these names before. This is actually very intriguing. It actually was very intriguing. Like, we want to know more. And honestly, like, the first couple of months of your guys' campaign was like, especially for somebody who had never heard of either of you, if you were paying attention during that time, it was a beauty. Like, we learned everything. You guys were on all these podcasts, and you did all these free flow conversations, and it was so great to like actually flush out exactly where you guys stood. And then, going into the campaign season, we were like two of the biggest defenders of like, everybody had these misinterpretations of things, like even the BLM tweets and like things that you were doing. And like, we were over here this whole time, like, where were you guys 2 months ago when they were on the podcasts and you're trying to say, well, they say this and they mean this. Well, actually, I heard them say otherwise personally. I've heard it many times.
And so this is a problem with political perception. Yeah. And it's something that when you're running for office, especially high office, you have to be aware of it, and you have to be able to adapt to it. Most people, even many libertarians, many people that are politically active, they aren't going to watch hours of your content and find out what you think about everything. Yeah. They're going to take a snippet of something that someone else brings to their attention and trust their preferred podcasters, their preferred social media people, their preferred reporters, their preferred pundits, political pundits, to explain to them what it meant.
Right.
And the problem with that, there's many problems with it, but part of the problem is that with that is that when you get your news that way, I can say something, I'm trying to come up with an example. I can say a statement as innocuous as I think that the sky is blue. And they can take a snippet out of that. Or I can have a conversation with you about the weather, and someone can take a snippet out of that and present it and spin it in a completely different way. And everyone who follows them on social media or their TV show or their podcast or whatever will believe what they said about it.
Right.
It won't matter what I actually said. What will matter is their perception of what that, based on what was said to them. Yeah. Now, social media makes it a little bit easier because you can put your own content out there.
Sure.
This is why I was not a huge fan of all the stuff that came from Joe's social media team.
Right.
And I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I want to make this clear. I'm not throwing Joe under the bus. She was a great candidate. I'm not throwing the social media team under the bus. Right. They did a great job. The campaign overall. I mean, there are certainly things that we learned. There are things I learned that I could do better. One of my concerns with the social media team is that there would, or with the social media on Joe's side in general, is that from the communications department on Joe's side, is that something would be put out and then not fully sussed out.
Yes.
And so
agreed.
When you put up a tweet that says something like, for example, because this was a big one, it is not enough to not be racist. We must be actively anti-racist. Okay. Well, what does that mean?
Yes.
What is active anti-racism?
Right.
Does that mean we need to fight against racist policies? Does that mean if someone that is in our social circles or our family says something racist, we have to be against them? Does that what
do we
what is it?
Do we cancel people because of it?
Do we cancel people?
Yeah.
And for what? Is that what it just,
who determines?
Who determines what was racist?
Yeah.
There are many issues here. There's nothing inherently wrong with saying that racism is bad. We should be against racism.
Absolutely.
But especially that specific phrasing, we have to be actively anti-racist. What does that mean?
Yes.
I will, and depending on what it is, I'll probably agree with it. Like, I mean,
Right.
if there's a way to be against racism, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But it didn't say what it was.
Mhm.
And that was a perfect tool for those who, weren't fans of us to say, well, here's what she means by that.
Yeah.
Or here's what she's
They got
telling
to
us.
interpret
Well,
it.
that's the only bucket of water they carried.
Yeah, they
that
did.
was
Right.
the only one.
There
It
was like 2 or 3
I
things.
agree
but
with
yeah.
her 95%, but that one tweet really.
That one
damaged
tweet.
her.
Yeah, that one tweet. I
I'm
was
done.
like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
What about Donald Trump?
Because of that one tweet, I'm going to vote for someone I disagree with 99% of the time or 95% of the time, because that tweet was the end of it. But this is the problem, Nadia and Tony. This is the problem, is that, if you don't suss that out, if you don't say we have to be actively anti-racist, and it was a perfect setup for, well, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Because active, anti, like you're creating a call to action.
Yes, you are.
Well, now what? You have to be
Right.
actively anti-racist. And here's how. You can support this, you can do this, you can join
Yes.
this, you can do this, you can
Exactly.
do
Could've
that.
been a whole
And then
marketing
if someone,
campaign.
a perfect marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't like those things, well, then that's fine. But it at least explains it.
Exactly.
I would have, and so what I did during the campaign was I did my best to spin it, because I didn't know what it meant. To spin it and say, well, when Ron Paul was asked about whether he was a racist or not, he said, I can't be a racist. Libertarianism, we reject all forms of malignant collectivism, and racism is another form of malignant collectivism. And I take that to mean, that libertarianism is actively anti-racist, and the
In and of
policies of
itself.
libertarianism disarm racism, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So I'm filling the gap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if your preferred social media people that you listen to, or your preferred political pundits, already don't like us, or just trying to get people to vote for Trump or vote for Biden or whatever, they can say, well, here's what that means, because we
Yes.
didn't answer that.
Exactly.
So a powerful lesson there. Anyone who's thinking of running for office, when you put a statement out, make sure that you have explained it.
Yes.
Right.
It doesn't guarantee that it doesn't guarantee that it won't be misconstrued, but it helps to at least fill that gap that you're creating. When you put a statement out there, you are potentially creating a vacuum of understanding of what that meant. Fill that vacuum with something. And then that way, even if you put something out to intentionally be provocative, I do that all the time. Put something out that leads very provocatively and makes people go, wow, that's impressive, or holy crap, I can't believe he said that. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But then after that, give them the breakdown of why you were trying to get their attention. It doesn't make sense to get someone's attention and then go,
Yeah.
hi,
Have fun with that one.
let them, yeah, exactly. It's not, hey, and then they look over and you go, hi. Like, you have to actually give, or not even say hi, you walk away.
Yeah.
You have to give them what that actually means. And so, that was, again, it was a powerful lesson that we learned there, or I learned from what happened there with Joe. I don't think she, some of the things I heard, she's saying you need to, reject the free market capitalism and embrace, no, she didn't mean that.
Exactly.
It means that you have to, you have to bend to the will of Marxism, or you have to, support riots, or you have to no, she didn't mean any of that, but she didn't say what she meant. Or what that meant, and that coupled with people who were looking for ways to to be actively anti-Joe, were given a bit of ammunition in doing so.
Although I will say, in her defense, at her stops, she tried hard to redirect it and help people understand what she meant.
Yes.
Personally, she was. Yes. She personally was.
She honored the mistake. She, and
yeah,
she
actually,
owned it,
she came
and
to
she
Madison.
explained it. It's great.
In Madison, somebody had asked her directly, to flesh that out too, and she had done a beautiful job of explaining exactly where she stood and what it meant and what, everything. And like,
that was my biggest thing. I was like, just come listen to her talk. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Just
Yeah. And that's the thing for those who are willing to do the due diligence and listen to her, you're going to walk away saying, yeah, that's who I'm voting for. That's the best person to vote for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There were people I tried. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but you're not, good luck getting millions, much less tens of millions of Americans to do that period of due diligence. It's just, it's not what's expected of them. What's expected of them is to, take sound bites from pundits and sound bites from pundits and political candidates. So you have to kind of feed that need. Where I've done well post-election in social media is realizing, give them that snippet, get their attention, then build out what you're trying to say.
Yes, then have the rapport with them.
Right.
And have the rapport, then build it out. So don't try to throw it all at them at once, because they're going to go, I'm not reading all that. And don't throw something out there, get their attention, and then walk away, because they're going to go, what the hell, man? Get their thing, get their attention, then build out the thing of what it is you're trying to say. And we've done pretty well with that. Our reach last month on social media, all the different social media combined, was close to 50 million.
That's awesome.
Holy moly.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's
post-election, and that's what it takes. And that's what it takes.
That shows the power in what's going on right now. Like, 2020 ignited so much in all these people, like started just liberating people from every direction.
From mind frames.
They were just popping off for every different reason, and they just needed a direction. And that's where I feel like coming into 2021, you're finding, at least I'm finding personally in my own life, people around that are finding their purposes.
Yeah,
they're rising up. They're coming to office. That's it. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to go to a city council meeting.
Yeah, we are.
I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go talk to somebody. You need somebody door to door? I'm there. You need me to protest about too high of taxes? I'll do it. There's so many people around that are like, sign me up. And that's what I have loved watching, especially through your and Joe's campaign, like through that whole trail, like the real fire in the grassroots that was just blowing up.
It's true. Actually, that's one thing that I really think was a beautiful aspect about Joe's and your campaign, was the fact that so many libertarians now decided to come to action. Like we we went from just, handing out flyers to becoming a actual local official affiliate. Then we spoke at Joe Jorgensen's rally. Then I was a city manager at one of her rallies. Then we ran media at another one of her rallies. Then now, like you were saying, after the election, you get 50 million. Our little Facebook page has 700 and I don't even remember, we're almost to 800 likes now. I get like almost 20 to 40,000 reach,
awesome.
Like on any given month.
And that's almost all entirely in your local area. So that's a huge reach. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that, and that people engage. And I actually have picked up a lot on the cues that you and the marketing and everything that you guys have laid down. Like, I've been trying to really harness that even in our own. Like you said, make something impactful, make something that's important, and then draw them in and have the conversation, about it afterwards. I actually had my own little gaffe of sorts. So I'm helping a local gentleman here, Jacob Vandenplas. He's running for Congress in District 8. So he'd be a federal, federal election, but out of Wisconsin here. And so I've been I did his website, and I've been doing ads for him. I've been making infographics and memes and stuff like that for him, and building a social media presence and doing all these things. And he put up a birthday post where he was asking people shut off your phones, turn off your TVs, have conversations with loved ones. We need to get back to community, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I made a really nice infographic about it, and I posted it up. Immediately, all these libertarians start coming on there. That's not very libertarian of him to tell me what to do. How is he going to tell me to live my life? All this. And I was like, so I took the time to sit there and conversate, and that's not what he means. He's not trying to tell you what to do. He's literally, this is like life advice, it's just really.
He's trying to be charming and tell you.
Yeah, you're not ordering people to put their phones down. You're making a gentle suggestion 100%. That maybe that's what I said can interact with.
I'm like, you listen to his policy points, and nowhere does he say he's going to limit the amount of phone time you get. That's
I think that's one of his policies. Yeah, exactly. We're going to make everyone put their phone down.
Yeah, and it's incredible sometimes.
But it's it was your campaign that birthed Jake to be like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, he actually he worked security at all those rallies here in Wisconsin. He was part of it all, and and everything. So it sparked him, and he's like, I want to run for Congress.
And that's what that culture of winning is.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I'm trying to do post-election. You know, my goal was always after the election, take the momentum that we have coming out of that. And actually build something moving forward. Actually take that and funnel it into races that are winnable. City council races, county races, statewide races, even maybe some congressional races. You know, get libertarians, get more libertarians elected, get more people into the libertarian movement and the Libertarian Party, get the grassroots, these local affiliates. Every time I talk, you know, I've met so many people that are like, hi, I'm the chair of such and such county Libertarian Party or the such and such city Libertarian Party. And they'll often say something like, I know that's not a big deal, it's just my county. I'm like, no, this is a very, very, very big deal. Because when I went across the campaign, and I hate it, Wisconsin was one of the few states I didn't get to visit.
We always wanted to see it,
Yeah, I know. And I was actually, I was so close to actually coming. I had an event that had already been pre-planned in New Jersey, Staten Island, and Manhattan. The day after I was in Minnesota. So I literally got off the bus. The bus went to Wisconsin, to Madison after that, and Joe went back onto the bus. I was going, very briefly, it looked like the New York stuff wasn't going to be happening because of lockdowns and things like that there. And so it was like, well, maybe I'll just keep going and do the thing in Madison and then go to what was it, Rhode Island after that, or whatever was on my next thing. And then at the last minute, NYC LP and Staten Island LP were like, nah, screw it, we're going to do it anyway. And if they give us a hard time, and I'm like, I'm all about that. So I ended up going. So I was this close to getting to Wisconsin. But but going across the country, and seeing what that local affiliates, local grassroots activists were able to do with pennies, what it costs dollars for national to do. And often the locals could do with the pennies even more effectively what national could do with the dollars. Now, it's important to have a strong national party and to have that brand of libertarianism and to be able to coordinate between the different states and affiliates 100%. And all that. That's important. But we as libertarians recognize that things are often best done in a decentralized, localized fashion. That when you intentionally try to centralize things for no other reason than to centralize it, that it often leads to bad outcomes because it doesn't allow for the vibrant and dynamic and immediate responses that can happen when things are done locally. So it is crucial. You know, we talk about a culture of winning, which is incidentally the name of my show. And, you know, I'm interviewing libertarians that are getting elected across the country. But part of that culture of winning is recognizing how libertarians win. We win locally by activating good candidates who are engaged in their community. And we can build that out to get more libertarians elected across the country, to get libertarians elected at increasingly higher levels. So going from city to county to, you know, state level and eventually statewide races like, you know, senatorial races, gubernatorial races, and, you know, different, you know, Secretary of State and Attorney General and things like that. And then eventually being able to win some, you know, federal races, congressional races and things like that by simply scaling up the formula for how we're already winning now. And the best way to do that is to get more people involved and excited. So it was always crucial to me to take that momentum and keep building it moving forward. That's why I'm slated to go to, in fact, we're working on me coming to an event there in Wisconsin, a workshop event in Wisconsin, hopefully sometime in the summer. And I'm going to be I'm already booked for like well over a dozen events. I'm going to be in Miami next weekend. I just got back from Tennessee. And the reason I'm going across the country is to talk to libertarians at the local grassroots level, get them excited about the next set of goals, and to work to coordinate to build that culture of winning and to give attainable goals. So let's grow our membership by X amount. Let's grow the number of affiliates by X amount. Let's get this many candidates running for office. Let's use the tools that work to get candidates elected, and let's use those in all these different races. This is the way that we win. We win by, you know, in the past, we have had a cycle of losing, and it's not just of losing in terms of our electoral outcomes at the federal level. It's a cycle of losing by repeatedly doing the same thing instead of, you only lose if you don't, if
you've lost interest.
You don't. Right. Lost interest, getting the activist churn and activist burnout by not giving them something attainable and winnable, giving them good goals instead of just giving them these unrealistic goals and then blaming it on them when it doesn't work. That's a big problem that we need to deal with. And I'm determined to end that.
Me too.
People are asking me about if I'm running in 2024, and I'm saying, guys, I'm not even worried about 2024. I'm not ruling out running in 2024, but who the hell cares who runs in 2024 if we can't even get on the debate stage?
And there's a lot.
Who the hell cares who runs in 2024 if we don't get 300 libertarians elected across the country at local and state levels? What does it matter? It doesn't matter, because they're not going to win. They're going to get single digits again. And we're not going to get anyone elected in races that are much more easily winnable, that we actually can attain now. So my focus is on where we can win, how we can win. It's also on, getting as much attention to libertarian ideas across the country as I can to help bring people into that movement. But then when I bring them into that movement, I don't bring them in to say, vote for Spike, vote for Spike. I bring them in to say, hey, what county do you live in what state? Okay, great. Join that state, join that county. Let's go do things in your local area. Yes. And if you can get enough stuff together to be able to have me come out and participate in a workshop or an event or something, I'd be happy to do that. And if I can't, let me find someone else who's happy to do that. Another prominent libertarian who can come and do that. That is how we build a culture of winning. That is how we get attainable goals. That's how we get libertarians elected. And eventually that is how we actually attain all the stuff that we're trying to do. Because it's not about just getting libertarians elected to office. No. It's about setting people free. It's about ending wars. It's about getting people out of cages. That's the whole point of all of this. So if that's our goal, then let's actually do that. Instead of every 4 years saying, oh man, when we get elected straight to the White House in 4 years, we're going to do this and that and this and that. And then when it doesn't happen, we go, oh, well, the system's rigged against us. But in 4 years, we're going to win the White House, and then we're going to do this and that and this and that. That's how you burn people out. That's how you are branded as a losing party.
Exactly.
That is how you never get anything accomplished. So let's do the thing to be able to win.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking with our state chair, and we were talking about we have to start treating every year like it's an election year in some way, shape, or form. Every year is an election year for libertarians, because you have to be out there. You have to be always trying to build that community, get them together, have a conversation. Let's at least talk about it. We can't just shove it down their throats in election year and expect them to take it. Oh, well, you guys haven't really showed up to the party before. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The biggest thing that I heard, the two biggest things I heard, or I guess probably the three biggest things I heard were, I got to vote for the lesser evil.
Yeah.
Which I had an answer to that. I'm like, you've been voting for lesser evils. Has that worked?
Exactly.
I had an answer for the you guys can't win. Well, we can if you vote for us, and we do win. We win across the country, and we do win. We win across the country.
I used to say, if I had just half of a vote for every single time I heard you weren't going to win, we would sail. We would get the White House down.
Yeah, it's true.
But the one I didn't have a good answer for is, where have you been for the last 4 years?
Yeah.
Right.
And I could say, well, your local Libertarian Party has done this and that, if they did.
Yeah.
But because of the activist burnout that we get, and because we don't pull in the kind of crony corporate money and pull in the stolen taxpayer funded money and subsidies that allow us to have full-time paid staff across the country. So we're relying on people doing this for free out of their desire to like y'all and like me being to push the message of liberty forward. We haven't in the past been able to be constantly and actively engaging. But the biggest problem is that, well, let me focus on this. The biggest solution to that is to give activists attainable goals.
Yes. I say that all the time.
Effective team building
is
built around saying, yes, we have our big pie in the sky goals that we will fight for, knowing that our odds are very, low of getting it. But that can't be it. People are not going, the average person is not going to spend the next 30 years fighting hard for something they know is probably unattainable.
No, they won't.
And it's especially unattainable if we don't do the foundational work to be able to attain that.
Yes, exactly.
So what you have to do is get more libertarians elected across the country at the local level.
Yes.
Bring more people into the libertarian fold by sharing our ideas in a way that connects with everyday Americans.
Yes, meet them where they are.
These two things, meet them where they are and spread the message where they are.
Yes.
Ask them questions, find out what they care about, use that information to empathize with them, build a rapport with them, and then explain how our ideas fix the problems that they're facing. We have the best ideas. We don't need to argue with people. We don't need to hide our ideas. We don't need to yell at each other. We don't need to hide our ideas. We don't need to water them down.
No,
we
need
don't. To just meet people where they are and then show them how our ideas fix the problems that they're facing. Libertarians are not consequentialists, which is why we often don't talk about how our ideas fix problems. We talk about how our ideas are the best and most moral way to do it. But for most people, they go, okay, great, it's moral. How are my kids going to be able to afford good education? How am I going to be able to afford healthcare? How am I going to make sure that, that our streets that our neighborhoods are safe and, that our education's good or whatever.
Right.
They're not as concerned about, ideas like property rights and the NAP or, our self-ownership or personal autonomy. Those things might matter to them in the abstract, but much more importantly, how am I going to put food on the table?
Yes.
And we have to be able to have the answers to that. When we do these things, when we get libertarians elected, we address the you can't win problem. Yeah, we can.
We just did.
We can win. Look at all these people that have won.
Yep.
When we get more libertarians elected, we address the, libertarianism sounds good, but how would it work in practice? Here's how it works. Here's how libertarians are doing good things across the country. And then it also demystifies the ideas of libertarians getting elected. And then it also builds the bench of libertarians who can run for higher offices, who can run for a city council person, who can run for mayor, who can run for governor, who can run for state rep, who can run for attorney general, who can run for this, who can run for that. So it fixes and it ameliorates all the problems. But here's the biggest thing that it does in the meantime. It gives y'all something to do that builds team and camaraderie and gets you excited and makes you feel like your efforts aren't being wasted and that something is actually being built because it is. You're able to wake up and go, man, all this time I'm spending volunteering has led to this many more people joining the party, has led to this many people getting elected, has led to, real policy changes that have happened. Trisha Butler in Clarksville, Tennessee, was able to pass a resolution through the city council getting rid of all of the restrictions on short-term rentals, which will greatly reduce the cost of housing, the cost in short-term housing in her area. It'll help so many people. It will help create and generate revenue for people. It ends the crony protectionism that was built for the hotel industry in Clarksville. Cassandra Fryman up in Plymouth, Ohio, she basically decriminalized the war on drugs up there by by invalidating everyone's possession convictions. She tossed out a bunch of speeding tickets and does that routinely. She says, unless this was some egregious offense that was harming people, I'm not going to ruin people financially for several weeks because they were caught speeding. This is the kind of stuff that can happen when we get hundreds and thousands of libertarians elected across the country, and it gets y'all and keeps y'all in this. And it brings more people into this because people like to join a winning thing. So this solves all of our problems. And it's when I say a culture of winning, it is a culture of being built around finding and achieving and winning attainable goals and watching as those goals grow in their scope and their size until eventually that goal is win the White House and we achieve it. That goal is end the war on drugs and we achieve it. That goal is end the war on guns or end taxation or end the Federal Reserve, end the wars overseas, end lockdowns, end mandates, and achieve them because we built ourselves up to be able to do so.
Yes, exactly. That's so perfectly said. And honestly, too, like you unpacked so much there, but like I said before, we're really trying to implement a lot of that here in Wisconsin. So besides Jake running, for his own District 8 congressional seat position, there's also Brett Knutson, who's running for an assembly position here in Wisconsin. There's Kyle Anholt, who's He has yet to fully announce. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this to you. I mean, but he's really, he has a team put together. He's on the verge. Like, he wants to do it. He's just waiting for the, opportune time. And really, trying to get it all together, because governor's a big spot. Then, Nadia is actually going to be running for city council here in Sturgeon Bay.
Cool.
I'm actually going to be running for Door County Board Supervisor in Door County here. All of these elections are actually in 2022. So for Wisconsin in 2022, there's actually going to be a lot of gold across the ballots, in all these different areas, especially here in District 8. In Door County, there will actually be a mostly straight down ballot gold ticket, because there will be Congress,
wow.
There will be, state representatives, there'll be a possible governor, there's going to be the county, the city, so like you said, starting out slow and starting out with just a couple of winnable elections, getting people on different levels, showing people here locally what the power of libertarianism is. There's actually one libertarian elected down by the Fox Valley area. His name's Brian Defferding. He, for the last number of years, has been so amazing, doing so many things in his local area to try and make real change. And it actually is a great...
His biggest fight has been against the prison system,
decriminalization of cannabis. Like, he's been really pushing a lot of that, the reform and criminal justice, because Wisconsin is terrible when it comes to a lot of those areas, especially with cannabis. We have a huge prison population of cannabis users, and the state is desperately wanting at least medical, but if, recreational, it's like 65-70%. I think the last time they polled it, that the state is like, we're on board. Every time there's a vote, it passes.
Right.
It's just the state at this point that resists, the passing of it. But so, it's nice to see, once you light the torch, it's like all these other torches start lighting up around you.
Exactly.
I actually got approached as well, because of all of my activism that we've been doing here through Door County for Liberty and Libertarian Party of Door County and all the things. The current state chair is stepping down, and he asked if I would be interested to run. So this April at the convention, I will actually also be running for state chair of the Libertarian Party of Wisconsin. And one of the reason why I'm the most excited to actually take up this position is because I fully understand exactly what you're saying, where you need to empower the activists at the grassroots level.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is by actually giving them the opportunities and giving them, like you said, the goals that they can achieve.
Giving them attainable, winnable goals. Yeah.
And it's, and then so I'm very excited, because there's so many amazing activists in this state. We've seen them as we've been traversing this libertarian world here. We've, worked with them even. And so I'm excited to get in there and, open that door for them and say, here we go. Let's do this together. Let's actually make some real change together, because Wisconsin needs it, and we're all in our little pockets over here working. Let's come together and do it. We can do it together.
Well, and here are many different ways we can spread the message.
Exactly, that too.
Exactly. I get hundreds of messages a day from people saying, what can I do to help spread the message of liberty?
Yeah.
And it's me and members of my social media team responding to messages. But when we get that question, we already have a formula of how to answer it. Where do you live? Is the first question. Well, first of all, hey, thank you for your support, and we're happy to have you.
Once you get in the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, but that would be funny if we started with that. It's like, hey, how can I help? Where do you live? But we say, but we like your address. But we, when we say, thank you so much for your support, and we're excited to have you join us. Where do you live? What city and county and state and so forth do you live in? And after they say that, we say, here is your state affiliate. If we know that there's a county or city affiliate, there we go. Here's your county or city affiliate. If we don't, we say, reach out to your state affiliate and see that if there's a county affiliate. Right. And we say, they're going to be able to tell you what needs to be done.
Yep.
And if I have an upcoming event anywhere near that area, I say, I'm going to be here at this time at, this place and this time. Come out and see me, because I'm going to be there, working to help organize and activate and excite and build a blueprint for libertarians across the country for how to be able to win their elections.
Well, I think that's actually something that's important too, is you're super accessible. We need people who are accessible as well. You're a leader who also is willing to work with the people directly. You have to be. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying though. And that's where a lot of the gatekeepers always, push people away, is they will, this is what libertarianism should be, but I'm not going to actually work with you to make it happen. Whereas, like, yeah, it's an inspiration to see people like you, because that's exactly the same way that we are too, you know, like
if you are spending all of your time saying who should not join the Libertarian Party and none of your time bringing the people that you think should be into the Libertarian Party, you're not just gatekeeping, you are just
sabotaging,
shut the door. Well, it's sabotage. It's a form of sabotage, whether it's intentional or not.
Exactly.
But you're shutting the door and saying everyone stay out.
Yeah.
And you're doing your best personally, which hopefully is not very effective in trying to make sure that this party never accomplishes anything.
Right, absolutely.
Now, if you have a problem with certain people that are coming in or certain ideas from people that are coming in, okay, fine. That makes sense. And
express them.
That's certainly a good conversation to have.
Yes.
There are clearly people you think should be coming in.
Yeah.
So bring them in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if there isn't anyone you think should be brought in, is it because you don't think this party is worth bringing people in which case, why are you here? Or is it because you think no one deserves to be here, in which case, how do you expect us to accomplish anything?
Exactly.
Or is it just that you don't want to do the actual work to bring people in? You would rather just complain about people that are coming in that you don't like, in which case you're probably going to get ignored, because most people after a certain point will say, okay, well, who are you bringing in?
Right. What are you doing for the movement? Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to just ignore you now. And that's, you know, it's not, there are certainly concerns I have with, you know, some of the efforts to bring people in that some are doing. And I can certainly share that, but I'm spending most of my time bringing people in on my terms.
Exactly.
And
exactly
using the messaging I use. That's my main focus. Yes. Because if the people that came in because of the things I'm saying, then I'm fairly confident that they're ready to do libertarianism. They may not be 100% on board with all of our ideas. That's fine. I wasn't when I got here either. Most of us aren't when we get here.
Yep.
And some of us still aren't. Some of us are still on the fence about some stuff, and that's fine. But I know that they at least came in on the right pretense and the right motives. So that's my main focus, is 100%. For me to bring people in, do everything I can to bring as many people in that I can. That's the way for me to be accountable and effective as well as I can.
Exactly. We're the exact same way. You know, there's obviously any libertarian who pays attention to the movement on a whole understands there's some factions and facets of the party that like to squabble a lot. And we've been over here this entire time, not really understanding why that energy needs to even really be put that way. You know, like you could be spending all that time and energy focusing on just helping people become aware of the movement. And even if you don't have the capacity to help people and educate people, do things, go volunteer in your community, show people the power of voluntary efforts, like do the things that you yourself have principled inside of you.
This is something that actually is helped by giving people attainable goals.
Yes.
Because some people are just arguing because they don't really have anything else that they're being given to do. And they may not be, you know, a lot of people aren't self-starters, and that's okay. You know, like that's just, you know, the majority of people aren't like these self-motivated self-starters. That's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So give them something to do.
Exactly.
And now they're busy doing the thing that's attainable, and they're building camaraderie with the people that they were previously arguing with. So now there's friendships instead of, you know, oppositional stuff and adversarialism. And they're actually attaining goals. And for those who don't want to actually do anything and want to just argue with people and squabble, they'll find that they have fewer and fewer people to do that with, because those people are busy going and actually doing things, which means they might leave. They might say, oh, this isn't a great place for me to just argue endlessly. I'm going to go find a new group to do that in. All right.
On Reddit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Someone to argue with on the internet. Where will you ever find that?
Never. We actually felt, I mean, as most people do on social media, we felt trapped in the beginning of like being so passionate that we felt like we needed to not argue, but debate the misinformation and debate the misconceptions and be there every single step of the way to correct people. And then it got so exhausting and taxing on our personal well-being that at some point we decided just to step away and just only focus on what we can do. Like, we can't change everybody, but if I put something out into the world that resonates with somebody, I can change them. You know, like that's what I can do. We actually, I have to bring this up because I think you'll get some humor out of this, as others did. So in our local state party, there's been this gentleman. He was in the party for a number of years, but he's always kind of been a little bit more left leaning. Through this COVID crisis, whatever you want to call it. He's been very, concerned with all the measures that need to be taken to protect everybody. And that's, I respect anybody's personal choice to live however you want in regards to that.
Right.
I, though, am a very vocal anti-mandate, activist. I think that mandates are ridiculous. People can make the choices for themselves. And most of the time, they will make the good, responsible choice. Anyway, so he had messaged me on a few different occasions. We had interactions where, he had kind of combated me and tried to argue and debate me on things. And I was always like, listen, I always tried to just play the neutral play. Like, I get where you're like, it's fine. You can feel that way, but you can't take away other people's freedom. You can't take away the people's liberty to do what they want to do. Like, that's where that's where I lie in. You can have your own personal beliefs about COVID. I have mine, but that doesn't change how we can't control other people's lives. Well, he reached out to me randomly like a few weeks back and had this big long message, basically telling me like he really likes that I at least had sparked something in my county. He's glad to see that, but I'm just, a danger and like all these things because of my anti-mandate beliefs and all these things. And then he ended this entire thing with, and P.S., your cookies suck. I've never met this guy, Spike. He's never had my cookies. I don't know where that came from. So I decided, I was like, so I was like, okay, this is one of those moments. I don't usually post up personal conversations. I blotted out, I blocked out his name and everything, so nobody knew who he was.
Right.
But I had to share this with everybody to be like, what? I had to read this, so you do too. And then after that, I decided to make kind of light out of it. And I said, so anybody now who's coming to the LPWI convention, I will now give a free cookie to.
This guy was angling for you to send him cookies. I'm convinced of it. Is this on your personal? Right. This is on your personal social media?
Yeah, mine. And I think I shared it out to Door County for Liberty as well. I'm not sure exactly. I did. I tried to keep it as personal. And then, like I said, a little bit out to the, because I don't want to like, I don't like throwing shade at people. That's not who I'm about. It's just the humor of like, why did you gotta go there?
I just want to see it because it's funny.
I can send you a link to it too after.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm looking because this is exactly the kind of stuff I want to see. But so, I'm not gonna lie, Tony. It sounds to me like he was angling for you to, like, sort of like the challenge,
exactly.
My cookies are amazing. What are you talking about, you loser? What's your address? I'll send them to you.
The funny thing is,
they're not good. My address is blah, blah, blah. And then you send them and they're like, oh, I guess they're all right or whatever, but they could use more butter. And then you're like, but I'm all about butter cookies. And then you send them more. I think he's trying to get free cookies.
I agree. I honestly too, like I'm not great in the kitchen, but I'm good at baking. I'm actually good at making cookies. Like you called out the one thing I'm good at, dude.
I will make you some cookies. You're like, well, yeah. I mean, granted, I might not be good at like frying stuff or whatever, but I'm really good at baking. Like, it is fun. Of all the stuff he wrote, that's what would bother me the most too.
It did. The rest of it I played off.
Your position on lockdowns is destructive at whatever, Oh, you're killing people. No, I'm not. Whatever. Your cookies suck. What?
Are you serious?
What? How dare you? Now, meanwhile, I can't bake for crap, so he'd be right. But I would try. I would be so, just again, to prove how libertarian I am, I would be like, you're wrong. I want your address, and then I'd have to learn how to bake cookies.
Yeah.
And my wife would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Someone on the internet is wrong, and I have to correct this. Where's the butter?" And go and like have to make cookies. That is funny.
That's beautiful.
It's just the silliness of.
But kill it with kindness,
and then give them something to do so they don't have idle minds to think of silly things like this.
Yeah, and then a few days later, he came back and posted on like the state discussion page for our party, like, "I'm departing the party. It no longer serves me." Like all these things, and I was like, somebody actually came on and said, this isn't an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. Like,
yeah. And the thing is, you know, that's going to happen. Like any movement or party or whatever is going to have people who along the way say, you know what, I don't think that this reflects with me anymore.
Just walk away.
And that's fine. And that's fine. And, you know, you can go. The door's always open for them to come back as long as they didn't burn bridges on their way out. Which also happens sometimes, but they, you know, if someone's just like, hey, you know what, this isn't my thing anymore. Okay, well, I get it. And, you know, hopefully you can come back.
This is supposed to be consensual and voluntary.
Yeah, exactly. It's all consensual and voluntary. And my thing is, there's so many people out there who agree with us a lot, maybe even 100%. They just don't know we exist yet, or they don't know what we're doing yet. Yes. They just know that they aren't Republican or Democrat. They don't think they're progressive or conservative, and something's wrong. And this whole thing seems like a con game. Yes. And it seems like we do a lot better if we could just live our own lives. I met so many people that I'd say, you know, what are your political, you know, they come out and they'd hear I was running for president or running for vice president, and Joe was running for president, and they see this big bus. And they're like, what's this about? And so they come and they listen to my speech. And they're like, yeah, that sounds good. And, you know, I talk to people afterwards, they get selfies and stuff. And I'd say, so, you know, what do you consider yourself politically? And so many times in urban areas and rural areas, people of all different ages and races and colors and income levels and geographic areas, they'd all, if they weren't politically active, they would say something like, you know, well, I'm not really political. I just don't think what's going on right now is very good. Yes. And, you know, or I don't think the government's doing a good job, or I don't think politicians represent us. And that was like 100% where they'd say something like that. And then, and if I'd say, oh, you know, what does that, you know, what do you mean? Like, you know, I agree, but what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think? Probably at least 70 or 75% of the time they'd say, I just want to be left alone. I just think government is way too involved. I think that people would do better without all this government. Now, I'd get some people that would say, I think government should be providing this and this and this and this. But really, if you drill that down, they're just saying that they don't like the way it's being provided now. But even taking them out, close to 3/4 of the people I spoke with, they were pretty much telling me and I would say, and often I wouldn't even have to say it because there was a whole crowd around me. They'd start saying it and other people would go, you're a libertarian. And they're like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's what you just said. You know, you don't like how things are going. You don't trust Republicans and Democrats. You think government's too much in our lives. You'd like to just be left alone, and you'd like to be able to leave other people alone. You're a libertarian. And it's really cool. I want to bring people in. I don't want to leave any chips on the table.
No,
I want anyone who is of a mind to agree with us to be brought in. And then when I'm done doing that, I want to bring people in who just recognize something's wrong and want things to be better, and show them how our ideas will fix that. And then when I'm done with them, I want to bring in the people who, you know, they vote Democrat or Republican, even though they don't really like them that much, because they just know that they're the most likely to win. And so they vote for the lesser evil. I want to grow the party so much that they don't have to choose between electability and the principles. I want them to turn around and go, wow, libertarians have a shot at winning. Okay, I'll vote libertarian then.
And they would,
you know, that's my goal. I'm not worried about, you know, if a handful of people, you know, decide that they aren't with us anymore along the way. That's fine. That's they're welcome to go and come and go as they please. And you know, I think that's where we need to put our focus. And again, give people goals. They're goals that are winnable. Give them something to do, give them guidance on it, and lead by example. Be involved in it. Don't just say, hey, you do this. Show them how to do it. Get them involved with other people who can do it. Demonstrate yourself how these things are done. And you will have people who wake up excited to do libertarian activism because they know they're building towards something that's actually winnable. Instead of, man, I'm going to try to get someone I just heard of elected to the White House. It's, man, I'm going to grow our state party membership by 10% this month. I'm gonna affiliate 4 new members in my county affiliate. I'm going to I'm going to grow our social media group by X number of members, or our social media page by X number of likes or follows. Man, I'm going to, you know, whatever, you know, all these different goals. I'm gonna get enough donations to be able to print out 50 signs for someone that's running for a local office. These are things that are attainable, that can be won, that can be exceeded, and that can make people feel like, wow, I'm really doing something to be able to push liberty forward, and so that they can feasibly and palpably see what it is they're doing. It's actually something tangible that they're winning.
Yeah, helping them find their purpose in all of this.
Yeah, and I feel like too, when you meet them where they are, a lot of times, like with activists especially, a lot of these activists, they get involved at a level of passion that they feel comfortable with. Like I am a I love computer graphics and computer arts, and I love cinematography. So what I do is I make videos and pictures, and I'm very involved in that way, but there might be other people that are, and I'm a musician as well. So like I can put on, music and but getting activists in an area that they are interested in, if they're a gamer, if they're an artist, if they're a jewelry maker, like whatever it may be.
I enjoy the door-to-door, get a group together, let's have a conversation. Like I enjoy
people
that
who
kind
love
of
that, people who love doing
let's all group together and go clean up a highway.
Exactly.
And that's where big yellow shirts and everybody has a libertarian, let's get together, let's get to work.
Exactly.
Like something powerful on the shirts as we're helping clean up and build in the community that we're living in.
So can we talk about that very briefly? I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the most powerful things we can do politically never involves politics.
Yes.
It is just, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't involve politics. It doesn't involve strictly political activism. It involves going to a soup kitchen or an animal shelter or a homeless shelter or a whatever, or handing out, food to the homeless, or street cleanup, or, a park cleanup after a big event or whatever, wearing libertarian stuff and maybe passing out some pamphlets saying, this is what we do because we care about our community. Here's other things we want to do because we care about our community. In fact, this guy over here, or this lady over here, she or he is running for whatever because they want to help the community even more. Here's some info about them. But in the meantime, we're going to keep doing this and cleaning this up, or helping these people, or walking these dogs, or whatever thing it is that you're doing. It shows people that libertarians care about the community. A phrase a phrase my wife Tasha likes to use is demonstrating compassion through action.
I love that.
Yeah.
Showing that you care by actually showing that you care and doing something.
Right.
Not just saying you care in the abstract, but doing a thing. And what that also does is it grows your prominence and the brand of your party's prominence in your community. Libertarians, oh yeah, they're the people that did that street cleanup. Libertarians, oh yeah, they're the ones that did that soup kitchen thing. Oh, they're the ones that participated in Toys for Tots or whatever. What's that?
I said they ran a car wash.
Yeah, right.
And then
they ran a car wash.
All those proceeds to the Boys and Girls Club for the children.
Yeah,
exactly. This is thing. And then if you want to get political, and depending on your comfort with brushing up with the law, one thing that we were going to do prior to when COVID hit was we were planning on illegally handing out food to the homeless. In cities that didn't allow that don't allow you to feed the homeless.
Taxation is theft. Down here, he was handing out insulin a few days ago.
He was handing out insulin. Yeah. Exactly. At cost. He was handing out insulin at cost. Yeah. And, a big one so our plan was announced, like Dan did, we're going to go and feed the homeless. It is illegal. We are tagging the police in this. We're going to be there at this time. Come and see us. And then live stream it.
Yes.
And if the police don't show up, and if it's also, but have an illegal, where I have a anti-lockdown salsa party in downtown Miami.
Yeah.
Go, and then when we show up and live stream the thing. And if the police don't show up, victory, we get to feed the homeless. If they do show up, victory, we get to show people that the police, that the government are going to stop us from feeding people.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like what has been happening in
some
Texas.
of us are,
it's crazy.
Exactly.
Police officers guarding dumpsters so that people can't get food out of it. Like, come on.
For their protection. Yeah. Well, and when the police come, or if the police come, some of us, because we don't want to get arrested, will stop and just be very loud on live on social media saying, look, the police aren't letting us feed people. Some of us will probably continue feeding the homeless and say to the police, I don't want you to arrest me. I don't want to be arrested. I am not a criminal. If you have to arrest me, you have to arrest me, but I'm not going to stop handing out these delicious sandwiches to these folks who desperately need food.
Show me the
And if I have to be arrested for that, then fine. And if you want to be shown live taking sandwiches out of the hands of homeless people, putting them in dumpsters and pouring bleach into it, everyone knows what you're about if you really want to do that. Yeah. That is both community service and political activism with an actual purpose. And what a perfect opportunity for someone to say, and that's why I'm running for city council, because we're going to get rid of this stupid regulation that says they can't feed homeless people.
Exactly. You actually mentioned earlier about the short-term rentals. Right here in Door County, there's a huge market for Airbnbs, but the local government is starting to get very frustrated by that. And there's certain municipalities that are starting to want to have the county board shut that down. And so like, that's one of the things as running for county board, I'm going to start coming to some of these meetings and being an open activist against like, this is ridiculous, because the rules are just so finite too, that like, it'll basically eliminate like 85% of a lot of the Airbnbs and the people that, and a lot of these people, as it's been described to me, because I didn't really know much about this. It was actually a local community member that brought it to my attention after I announced I was running, had said, do you know this is going on? And they explained this whole thing. A lot of these people, like their family homes, like they've been in their family for generations here in Door County, but they themselves don't want to live in it and upkeep it. So instead, they rent it out as an Airbnb. It basically pays for itself. It pays for its taxes, and then they can keep it in the family. It keeps it restored. Mm-hmm. All of that will be challenged through these laws. Like these people might have to sell these homes.
Required to stay,
exactly,
you have
or
to
whatever.
Be required to be living physically in the house for a certain amount of time.
Right, exactly. There's
what I say to that is like, what's ridiculous is the county spends so much money on another low income apartment complex after another, even though the families are crying for a home.
Yeah, single family homes. That's so hard to find here.
So why can't we take some of those funds and turn them around and then buy the houses that are for sale in the market, have families restore them and move into them? Like there's something we can come there. So then you can stop the argument of, well, they're taking up the homes and that's why we have to have short-term rental regulations. Yeah,
because that's what they all come down to as well. With all these Airbnbs, there's nowhere to rent.
And what a terrible zero-sum economics argument that something that drives up values of homes would somehow not lead to more homes being built.
Exactly.
It's the stupidest argument on earth.
You're taking away money in the economy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, directly. I mean, because these
especially if you're a tourist-centric, like.
Yeah, our entire county is tourist-centric. Like it's all.
So here's the real reason why they're doing it, and I'm sure you already know this, but for people who are sitting there scratching their head saying, if I rent my house out, I'm robbing someone of the ability to buy a home. No one really thinks that.
Right.
Here's why they're actually doing it. In most metro areas, most cities, most parts of this country, one of the, if not the largest lobby in your general area is the hospitality lobby, the hotels and the apartment complexes.
Yep.
Especially if you're in a tourist town.
Yep.
Or if you're in or
I can say that for a fact.
Big one, not tourist towns, small towns that are near interstates where the only thing that's there is hotels. That is probably the biggest lobby in your general area. They definitely don't want Airbnbs because now they have more competition. So what they do is they put out this erroneous, economically illiterate nonsense about why they need to restrict it. They do the NIMBYism. Do you want some stranger in your backyard or next door to you? You've never even met them. They're going to be there for a week. They could be pedophiles. Like they create this nonsense in order to be able to rent seek and get rid of literally rent seek because they're actually selling rent to rent seek and get rid of their competition.
Yep.
And so what happens? There's less access to short-term housing, which disproportionately hurts the poor.
It does.
It prevents homeowners from being able to supplement their income and be able to afford their home, which disproportionately affects people that are at the lower spectrum of the income level. It drives down the value of housing, which hurts homeowners that want to be able to build equity. It drives up the cost of short-term housing, which hurts anyone that's trying to get there and have a room for a week or a month or a day or whatever. It hurts everyone except for those cronies.
Exactly.
And we can do this with everything. This is just a perfect, small town example or local example. But when we talk about the war on drugs, that's to protect big pharma. It's to protect the prison industry. It's to protect all the cottage industries that have been built around the war on drugs. When we talk about the wars overseas, that's to protect the alcohol industry. That's a big one. When we talk about ending the wars over the wars overseas, that's all based on the military industrial complex, all of the crony corporations that have been built around that. All of these policies have the stupidest justifications and the worst outcomes as a result of them. But the real reason behind it is to protect entrenched market share of the cronies who bought and paid for the politicians to be in office. It is a huge swindle. It is a con game. And the only way that we fix it is by getting libertarians elected across the country. The only way to fix a con game is to get rid of the con artists. The only way to fix this thieving system that has been built by Republicrats is to kick these clowns out of office, put people in office who respect the rights and autonomy and the free association of the people, and dismantle these bad policies, take all of that power and freedom and money that has been stolen from the people and put it back in their hands where it always damn well belonged, so that they can build and grow and prosper and thrive in ways that aren't even possible right now. That is what we are working for in the Libertarian movement and in the Libertarian Party. That is the whole goal behind what we are trying to do. And it is why we are building a culture of winning, creating attainable goals, getting candidates elected at the local level and eventually at the statewide level and eventually at the federal level to be able to, and when I say eventually, I don't mean 10 years from now. I mean moving very fast succession from that local level to be able to get libertarians elected so that we can set people free and thrive and prosper as a result.
Absolutely. I honestly think 2022 is going to be a huge year. And then I think moving into 2024, all that momentum is just going to build exponentially. I think you're right. It's going to happen really fast once that wildfire starts really catching on.
Yes.
Everybody's got to wake up and realize we have to get to work, and you are the power.
Yeah.
You are the powerful
Well, technically,
force.
technically I'm Spike Cohen. You are the power.
Yes.
Fair enough.
But you are also the power, Spike Cohen.
No. I'm Spike Cohen. I'm not the power. I'm Spike Cohen. You are the power.
Yeah, it's awesome. And honestly, the way you describe the whole crony capitalism thing, Door County is considered like the Cape Cod of the Midwest. Okay, we are like the #1 tourist destination of the Midwest.
Okay.
We get 2 million people a year through our county, and it's only like we're the thumb of Wisconsin. So we're a destination. There's nothing that comes through us. There's no interstate. There's no nothing. If you're coming to Door County, you're coming here
it's
for
to be
Door
the Door County to be on the lake. Yeah.
Right. And so there's literally like this huge wealth disparity in this county between like multi-millionaires and the local population. You have all of these industries up here that ride off the backs of the local populace to work all these jobs. They get paid crap. There's not enough housing.
Overworked, underpaid.
Yeah, all the all of this.
Yep.
And then you have this beautiful free market that exists up here where you have these like self-contractors and artisans and all these people that barter and trade and pay under the table in cash. And so like it's this really cool dynamic, and that, even as we've been building in the Libertarian Party of Door County, I feel like it's kind of like a powder keg ready to ignite. Like there's a populace here that's tired of these overlords only servicing the tourist industry and the hospitality industry. They want actual freedom. They want to feel like they're being taken care of too. And the only way to do that is by actually opening the market so they can.
And no one else is saying that.
No, nobody.
You have one side that is really, both sides are playing to the interest of the powerful, but one side is signaling to the interest of the powerful, and the other side is signaling to giving handouts to the people who are in need. So one side saying, "Hey, screw you, I'm here for the rich," and the other side saying, "Oh, don't listen to them. We're here for you. We're gonna give you free stuff." In other words, we're going to steal your bread and we're going to give you back some of the crumbs and say, "Hey, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have those crumbs." No, if it wasn't for you, I'd have my whole loaf of bread. And we can come in and say, "How would you like to be able to do what the cronies do?" by getting rid of those restrictions and regulations that they have put on you to make it so you can't compete with them? How would you like to be able to do things not under the table and actually be able to market so you can grow your business and be able to actually thrive on it and be able to create jobs and be self-sufficient and be financially stable, maybe even become a millionaire or a billionaire, but at the very least be able to be stable, not be a wage slave for someone else, actually be building something for yourself. We talk about, there are people that talk about we want to own the means of production. We want you to own the means of production.
Yes, absolutely.
And the way that we get you to own the means of production is by getting rid of the barrier to entry to be able to produce in the first place. So we have the best ideas. We have the best ideas for those who want less government. We have the best ideas for the people who literally want to seize the means of production. We have the best ideas for people who want to be able to live in freedom. We have the best ideas for people that want to be able to thrive and prosper and grow for themselves. We have the best ideas for the people who want to not be criminalized for not wanting to use big pharma to manage their pain or their mental health issues. We want to, we have the best ideas for people who want safer streets. We have the best ideas for people that want better education. We have the best ideas for people who want better and more affordable and attainable healthcare. We have the best ideas for everyone. And we can share those ideas with people by meeting them where they are, empathizing with them, showing that we're listening and that we care, and then from there, taking them on the journey of explaining how we got here, how the bad policies of the Republicrats got us here, and how our common sense libertarian solutions will fix those problems. And then we can take them on the journey to being libertarians as a result of it. And it is a problem. It is a struggle or a goal, a challenge to be able to do. But I'd rather have that challenge than to try to explain bad ideas to someone like Republicans and Democrats have to do.
Right. Yeah. We
Mental
like
gymnastics.
Mental
we
gymnastics.
like to explain it in the way that libertarianism isn't just another political ideology. It's a lifestyle.
It is.
It's everywhere. It's in everything that you do. It's liberation and being authentically you and just living your best life and allowing your neighbor to do the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And we actually, in previous we spoke with Adam Kokesh, and a really great point got brought up in that conversation when we were talking about localization, but it got down to the idea of libertarianism can really be reduced to the relationships with ourselves and each other, and the mutual respect and liberty that we give ourselves and each other, and that's where the community forms, is we all have to have voluntary consensual interactions, and that's when you start helping people understand that. I love the idea of localization. You've brought it up numerous times in many forms. Like, we need to start on the local level and grow from there. And really, all the power should reside as locally as possible. You could have
down to the individual, if preferably down to the individual.
100%.
But at the organizational level, it needs to be as local as possible. 100%. And again, in all things, there is going to be some need for greater affiliation and larger and more centralized networks. That's fine.
Absolutely.
But there's the natural creation of those things, and there is the entrenchment of those things through policies that subsidize it and enforce it and enrich and entrench it at the expense of literally everyone else. Not only is it bad because it leads to having less providers and having less options and having less freedom, but it also is bad because that business model isn't as good as many much smaller ones. A large corporation cannot possibly be as responsive to the needs of the people it's providing to the needs of its consumers, as smaller and more agile and newer and more vibrant and responsive competitors can be. The only reason why these big businesses are completely dominant is because once they get that big, they get into the pockets of politicians and get the regulations passed that effectively either make it illegal or prohibitively expensive, or just very, very difficult for smaller competitors to even exist, much less be able to thrive and threaten their market share. That's literally the vast majority of the things that are happening, all the way to kids being put in cages, all the way to people being put in cages and disenfranchised and removed of their rights, all the way to bombs being dropped overseas. It is largely just an action and a mechanism of enforcing and entrenching market share for powerful cronies.
Yes.
What a terrible, cynical reason to impose these things on us. It isn't because they genuinely think that this is the best way to do things. It's because they want to make sure it's universal basic income for billionaires.
Yes.
It's to make sure that incredibly wealthy and powerful people remain incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful at our expense. And
it's funny you bring up the universal basic income too, because Andrew Yang, you know, for all of his faults about universal basic income, one of the things he very much championed was this idea that politics no longer actually cares about humanity. It's not about serving humans. It's about serving market shares. As you said, it's about serving corporatism.
It's about serving power. It's about entrenching and serving power. It is power built upon around protecting and centralizing power. And when you have a system that is based on power and preserving power, the less powerful you are, the worse your experience is going to be under that regime.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a coincidence that those who are poor or people of color or gender and sexual minorities or the homeless or, you know, people in Appalachia or immigrants or religious minorities, all the various marginalized groups, those who are the least powerful, especially the poor. It is not a coincidence that they are also the ones who are the most likely to get arrested. They're the most likely to have disproportionate sentencing. They're the ones that are the most likely to plea down on something that there's no real evidence that they even did it. It's no coincidence that they're the ones that are the most likely to suffer under police brutality. It's no coincidence that they're the ones who are the most likely to have the worst outcomes under this arrangement because they don't have power. Yes. And in a system that serves power, if you don't have power, then you're a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in power are the predators. And predators, contrary to what, you know, cartoons and movies taught us, predators go after the easiest prey.
Yes.
It's basic survival.
Absolutely.
You go after the people and the targets that are the least likely to fight back. And that is the story of our system, is powerful people imposing themselves on those with less power and using the enforcement mechanism of the state, of government, to make that able to happen. You know, a lot of people, they have problems with libertarianism. They'll say, yeah, but in libertarianism, without government protection, you know, the rich would just get richer and the powerless would just get even poorer. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally different than what we have now.
What's the difference? Exactly.
Yeah. And I say, and the answer to what's the difference is that wouldn't happen in libertarianism.
Exactly. Obviously.
In libertarianism, the only way you become powerful is by serving others.
Mm-hmm.
By providing value. Your power is directly tied to value and merit. It's not tied to how many politicians you own. It's tied to how many consumers you've made happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a completely different arrangement. Now they have to be in the pocket of the consumer. They have to be in the pocket of their community. They have to be in the pocket of they have to be in the interest of serving the good of those who they want to be able to profit from.
Right.
That leads to people who now are incentivizing helping people. And if for no other reason than to get and stay rich. That, you know, now they're incentivized around helping people, coming up with solutions, and smaller competitors will be able to eat their lunch. And a lot of times they won't be able to get nearly as big, not because of any mechanism or maximum wage laws or anything like that, or, you know, antitrust laws to force them to break up, but because a really big company can't compete with a bunch of smaller ones.
No,
they're not going to be as responsive. So,
honestly, you see it all the time in the tech
solves
world.
These problems. What's that?
You used to see it all the time in the tech world. And now you see it more in like more underground subculture worlds, but that's exactly what happens. There is no such thing as a giant for long in a free market. You will have brand new people that pop up constantly with new ideas, and, you know, and then they just, the cryptocurrency world right now, that's a very good example. You know, Bitcoin's been the champion for the longest time, and now you have all of these different cryptos that have risen up over this time, and they will continue to. As long as the regulations don't start flooding in. But
and if Bitcoin ends up remaining one of the top or the top currency, it will be because of constant innovation within that sphere. Within the nodes and the for lack of a better word, the companies or providers, people that are leveraging that blockchain and building solutions on it.
Yeah.
So it is or on Ether or on the Litecoin or on any of these different currencies and blockchains that are being built. Interestingly enough, I am convinced that we will soon have anarchy, whether anyone likes it or not, because of the blockchain. Honestly, as technology advances, we can see this with anything. Hearing aids were once something that if you were almost deaf, you could put these things in and it didn't sound good and it might even hurt, but because of the noises and clicking and popping but you could hear something a little bit better. Hearing aids have now reached a point, and they were huge. Hearing aids have now reached a point where they're not much bigger or roughly the same size as the Bluetooth headsets that we're using, like the ones I've got in right now. And your hearing is actually better than someone's normal hearing.
Right.
That's only going to continue to get better and better until eventually hearing aids are something you can't even see, and they allow you to have far, exponentially better hearing than you ever possibly could. Think about the computing power of a computer, which now this thing would make a supercomputer from the 1990s look like a joke, a multi-million-dollar computer. Now, we're all walking around with these things, and it's got, it can live stream, and it's got, cameras on both sides and everything else. Things get exponentially better as technology increases. Mm-hmm. There are people that are saying that eventually, right now they're just beginning the technology of bionic eyes, which basically give very minimal light signals to the optic nerves or directly to the brains of blind people, just completely bypassing bypassing the actual eye and providing very limited light signal.
Right.
It has gone from just a little bit of light to now there's some color involved. Sure. Very soon, within the next 10, 15 years, what do you want to bet that those bionic eyes will be 1,000 times better than our actual eyes?
Right.
Where people who have good vision will still have a couple of them so they can see behind themselves and have infrared vision and zoom vision and all this stuff directly into their brains, right? This is how technology works. Now apply that to the blockchain. Blockchain is a way of organizing societies. Blockchain is already setting up contract resolution systems, arbitration systems, so we don't need government courts. Right. It's building solutions for things like mutual aid, so we don't need the welfare state. It's building commerce solutions, and it's doing it in a completely with some of the blockchains in a completely anonymous way, so that it can't be taxed.
Yeah.
Now, what happens as that blockchain increasingly becomes more and more exponentially more efficient and better? It doesn't matter what government forces us to do. We will eventually reach a point where it would be foolish to not use the blockchain instead of government services. Yeah. And at that point, the only justification government has to exist is we will make you do this. And if blockchain is so good that they can't make us do this, if they no longer have control of us with currency because we're using blockchain-based cryptocurrencies that are completely hidden and anonymous, so they can't even effectively know if we're using it or not.
Yep.
Government eventually exists on paper only.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's some dying breaths of, resistance they would go out with.
Oh, of course.
It wouldn't be easy. They wouldn't just go off
Not
silently
necessarily.
into the night.
Silently into the night, no. But it can very quickly look at how quickly Bitcoin went from, you can buy 10,000, you can buy a pizza with 10,000 of those to, holy crap, this thing is worth as much as a luxury vehicle.
Yeah, it's insane. It really is. It is. And you definitely are 100% right on. The way that technology advances has changed the entire landscape of how humans interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We can literally speak instantaneously. We're across the country from each other right now. That's proof of it in and of itself.
10 years ago, this would have been seen as a pipe dream. Well, 10 years ago, this would have been seen as possibly feasible in the future, right?
20
years ago, people would go,
No.
I mean, maybe if you're on some big console or something and you're paying big money, you know, a certain amount per minute to do it. Yeah, maybe that. Maybe, you know, like a phone machine or something. But there's no way you're going to just do that from your phone in the bathroom with someone else who's also on their phone in the bathroom. Sit there, what are you doing? I'm on the toilet. And, you know, like it's just some, you know, like whatever, like just some normal thing.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
Yes, exactly.
What happens when these things aren't even, you know, this is something that's, you know, dangling from your eyeglasses or they're in your contacts, including the actual computer itself.
Right.
You know, this is why I am hopeful about the future, especially when it relates to our interaction with the government. Government is still the same organization it was 200 years ago.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and actually Jo Jorgensen brought up a psychologist in her campaigning that talked about the iGen generation. And how you know, today's generation is literally just born with infinite options for almost everything. And because of that, we don't even understand structures like government, really, you know? Like, what do you mean? You're telling me I can only live this way, but I'm already living this other way, you know?
Which is why the only way government is presented to them is government gives you stuff.
Right.
That makes, okay, so that might make sense for now for people. Okay, well, government's this thing that gives me stuff. What happens when blockchain gives you better stuff for free?
Yep. Yeah. And it's more fun to use.
And it's more fun to use and it makes more intuitive sense and you have 1,000 different options to choose from and you don't even have to choose from them. You can get them simultaneously. Exactly. What happens when blockchain creates post-scarcity and the only argument government has is, I will put you in a cage?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they can't even effectively do that because they don't even know what the hell we're doing because it's all anonymous.
Right.
This is where government turns into you know, are they going to go out without even a dying gasp or an attempt to try to take over? No, of course not. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be as brutal as some people think it is, because unless they want to go and just start a genocide and round everyone up and kill them, who are you going to go after? Everyone's going to be doing this.
Even though the police.
In the same way that everyone already goes 5 miles over the speed limit, because who the hell's going to stop everyone? What happens when that's applied to everything? What happens when it's easier to just completely do your entire life without government's permission than it is to go 5 miles over the speed limit?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I know this is way outside of Libertarian Party stuff, but it's why I'm hopeful, because, you know, blockchain and the technologies that are coming up are, I believe, going to, you know, we talk about how it could potentially end senescence and make it where we're effectively immortal by just extending our lives ad infinitum. Those are all great things. It talks about potentially ending, disease by just, you know, fixing things at the cellular and genetic level. As someone with MS, I am very excited about that happening very soon in the future. Hopefully very soon in the future. What we often don't talk about is the fact that the most inefficient and destructive thing that we live with, government, is going to very quickly be something that is not only obsolete, but is unable to impose itself in any real way. You have to use our money. Okay, we're not, but okay. You have to pay us taxes. Oh, well, I don't make anything. Prove I do. You have to use our courts. No, I'm good. I never need your courts because I just handle it privately through arbitration and you don't even know. These are the things that happen as the technology goes. And then as each generation becomes more and more based on multiple options and consent for everything, opting in and opting out of everything, the argument for government gets stupider and stupider and less relevant to our lives every single day. And I'm excited. A lot of people who are looking at the way things are right now and being told, government's going to be completely obsolete inside of 1 or 2 generations, they're like, you're a moron. But, you know, again, imagine if you had told them that the fax machine was going to be a relic. Imagine if you had told them that, we were going to, like you said, be able to communicate with anyone wirelessly. Imagine if you told people that, libraries were going to just become a quiet place to read, that you could just find out that, dictionaries and dictionaries and encyclopedias were going to be a thing of the past, that, things would be updated in real time. Like, people would say you were foolish until it happened.
Right.
Exactly.
And it didn't take that long. It was a very exponential climb to that point. It really was.
It was surprisingly rapid.
It happened in our lifetime, basically. I mean, really, and born in 1990, so it's not like I'm really that old, you know. But I've seen these things. We had our first computer when I was like 7 or 8, and the thing was a big blocky thing, you know. But it was like my parents had to save up forever to get that thing, and now you can go to Walmart and get one for like $100, you know.
Yep.
And it's
Exactly.
And it's small, like way more powerful than that computer was ever, you know. But yeah, I mean, we've probably kept you a little late here, but we really appreciate you coming on and, you know, talking with us, having this conversation. We don't mind going outside of the realm of libertarianism. That's actually, we love having these kind of open conversations.
It's life and liberty, after all.
Exactly, life and liberty, because we like talking about all things. So.
And it's still somewhat in libertarianism. It's just not so much electoral politics.
Right.
It's why I'm still hopeful. I am happy to use electoral politics to get people into office to do harm reduction now and hopefully do as much as we can. I also believe that in 20 years we'll be looking back on, remember when we cared about politics? Like, you know, I maybe not 20 years, but certainly, you know, inside of my expected lifetime to be able to be like, yeah, remember when we thought like it was a good idea to elect people to office and tell us what to do? That was stupid. You know, like I really think that we're headed there, and I think it will. Absolutely. I think we can help hasten that along at the policy level by getting people elected. I think it's also going to happen regardless. It's just we can speed it along and make it happen more seamlessly. But I think technology is about to make this whole thing blow up in a way that we can't really process right now. No, it's true. It's true, and I'm glad you say that because, you know, sometimes being in the libertarian trenches, it can seem like this is the end. Yeah, this is the end. All the evil's coming down on top of you, you know. And so it's all over now. Yeah, it's all over now. Exactly. But obviously, you know, we're always try to be as optimistic as we can, and we've thought the same thing. We've had the same conversations. So it's nice to know there are others out there also thinking like, we just need to keep our heads down, keep going. And on the other side of this, there is a light on the, you know, like that we can all hope for. Attainable. Keep your hopes up high and your head down low. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And thank you for having me on. Attainable, winnable goals, get people elected into office, bring people into the movement. Do not worry about what Republicans and Democrats are doing. Oh, they're getting billions of dollars. Do not worry about what they're doing. What they're doing is sucking and everyone knows it. So let's go build ourselves up so that eventually the people who are all universally saying how much Republicans and Democrats suck actually have a viable option to replace them with. So let's work on that. Keep our heads in the, you know, keep our noses to the grindstone and so forth. And, you know, get libertarians elected, bring people into the party, grow the number and size of our local affiliates, build this thing at the grassroots, get our ideas out there, meet people where they are, connect with everyday Americans, and let's win and let's achieve the goals that we wish to achieve. And let's do it in winnable and attainable goals. And, you know, let's get to work. And I'm excited to work with y'all. I say that all the time. Let's get to work. I appreciate that. That's awesome. You know, we unfortunately we couldn't have you at the convention this year because of all the timing schedule stuff, but we're really looking forward to having you this summer. Yes, absolutely. We'll make sure that I'm really excited about that. We will make sure that happens because it's very important. I think your message needs to be heard on the local levels through and through. And like I said, Wisconsin's kind of ready for this. So let's make it happen. Worldwide. Let's make it happen. I'm excited about it. So really hope you have a great night, Spike. Thank you again for coming on, and hopefully we can do this again soon. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.